All right, Nick. Here we go. Top of the ninth. Massive 3 outs. One pitch, what looks like 1 out. Also, I'm out of breath because I just ran all over the house looking for my phone. And I have a problem with X because I scheduled a post and appears on the desktop version. It doesn't save those scheduled posts. Or not scheduled posts, to be clear. Drafts. And I ripped my microphone out, so if you're talking, I can't hear you.
All right.
And now I can. But I am a little upset at the old X machine because I don't know why in the world I can't just save a draft and it just stay in my profile. That makes no sense.
I'm not a big draft guy, so I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Or besides just schedule stuff, we don't put drafts.
I'm fairly confident that Nick Kirby has some drafts in there, and sometimes they.
I have like
sometimes they don't.
Oh. I mean, is this from your personal account?
Yes, I was gonna. I had our show linked, ready to go with a with a clever little line, and you know what? Yeah, my phone's MIA. So, and the whatever it was, minute that I ran upstairs to try to look for it, I didn't find it immediately. So, is what it is. Likes if you haven't already, folks. These are massive, just a massive final few outs. And we walk.
Well, we gotta walk. We probably need to sync up here, don't we? Am I live on the Twitter? Yes, we are. All right.
Yeah, just brutal.
So Pagan back to the closer. Or is he just doing the matchup thing? If he is, man, I respect the hell out of this. Because he had Santi on face, scheduled to face tougher hitters in the 9th in Detroit. Had him face tonight.
I think that's what he's doing. I think that's what he's doing.
I love that. I mean, that's fantastic. Big fan of that. Now, if he doesn't get Warner out, he's going to have to start facing for hitters.
Also, shout out to you, the little score bug down there for the Twins. Very good use of that logo.
That's it's actually shout out Peyton.
Really?
Peyton set up singular today.
Yeah, well then there you go. Big time Peyton, because I tell you this, the Twins, that little Twins looks a lot better than that TC garbage that they run out there.
Well, a little inside baseball. Not all PNG logos actually look good on our thing. So sometimes the best ones don't actually work out, unfortunately. But that's a big strikeout from Mr. Emilio.
All right, we're gonna have to get synced up.
Probably sync up here.
No, we're gonna have to get synced up. I mean, I can't have you telling me we got a massive strikeout.
Well, I just said
10 seconds before. All right, I seen a strikeout. I seen a massive strikeout actually.
Now Come on, Buxton now.
All right. Give me a. I got a replay.
Right, I'm at 6. I'm at 6. We get a pitch count. It's very late.
It's a late pitch count. Okay, I've seen the second.
Yeah, you got to be on it.
Seen the second replay and pitch count. Come on, show yourself. Pitch count 8, 7, 6,
all right,
5,
we're partying.
4, 3. Pitch inside. Not this guy. Anybody but him. Can we just get out of here with a win, please?
Nope, wrong way.
Inside. Okay. You can't throw a cookie here on 3-0. Like,
no, and they pinched hit for their number 2 hitter, so they have
breaking
the
ball.
Backup.
Honestly,
it is a good matchup ball on deck.
I'm not saying that's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's fine as in the sense that we wanted to walk him, but I'm not throwing a fastball right down the middle right there to Byron Buxton with a chance to lose the lead.
Well, they pinched it for Jeffers, or I don't know. They pinch run for him. I don't know why he's out of the game, but this is their backup catcher that is really only a guy that plays against lefties. So this is a good matchup.
It is a good matchup. You're not. I don't think you're still intentionally walking someone to put the tying run at second base. I don't. But I also agree that if you get down to the count, we're not gonna.
The old unintentional intentional one.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Once it gets to 3-0, you're trying to make perfect pitches. All right, one more solid pitch and a bad swing. That's what we need. My gosh, he's not even close. Not even close.
Why did they pinch hit for him? I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who cares. I'm just very curious.
I was wondering if
the Reds didn't bring in a left. He started against a lefty. Did he get hurt?
I wasn't paying attention enough to know what the Twins were doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I also did question earlier in the game, and I don't know the bullpen of the Twins. And
he exited with a hand injury.
Okay.
The old Twitter search always comes through.
There you go.
I was just like, wait, the Reds didn't bring in a left-handed reliever, and they started a lefty today, so it just was very confused.
Did you think it was goofy that the Twins didn't bring in a left-handed reliever, which maybe they don't even have one? I don't know, but I think it was Friedl, Lux, and Elly in that same inning, and Friedl ended up getting that big 2-out hit.
I didn't do a whole lot of research on the Twins. I didn't have them this series, but their top 5 relievers on Fangraphs are all right-handed. So they have 2, but I'm guessing the 2 are not trusted. One of them is classified as a long reliever. So,
gotcha.
Probably why.
They got a Brent Suter themselves.
There you go.
Bang! Massive win. Massive win. Some are saying it's feeling like 2023. Not me. I'm not saying it. But we got a show to do, and we'll be back in just a second.
And a bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes Clemente. And the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Walker. The Reds win the pennant. Perkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Landa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again. The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only
as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the Laurel Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Red win! Win! Line to right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Terry Cruz.
All right, Nick, welcome into a winning edition of Chatterbox Reds, and it is one in which, it felt like this team was starting to do things that you had not seen them do all year long consecutively. You know, Nick, there were times during this year, maybe early May, perhaps April, if you can remember that back that far, that they would have a game here and there where there were spurts of good baseball. And then all of a sudden, it just would disappear for not just a day or two, but weeks on end. The whole idea of winning a baseball game when you go down never was even a thought. It wasn't even considered. And today, in this game, Nick, they had some major hits, massive 2-out hits. And then they gave it all back the very next inning. And you're thinking to yourself, how in the world does this happen to my favorite baseball team? And then they found a way to do what I say they did in 2023 all the time, which was just respond. Doesn't matter if you get punched right in the mouth. You put your gloves up and you punch back. And that's just what they did tonight. And they got, again, I get it, 1 of 162, that whole notion, the garbage of just, it's just one win. I tell you what, I think that there are bigger wins in a year, even though they count the same. And I feel like this is one of them because you can build some momentum off of what you already had. And, Nick, they got to do something special in order to make the postseason. That's just a matter of fact. And it feels like we're trending in that direction. I'm not going to go out on a limb and act like, we're postseason bound quite yet. But there's no doubt in my mind that this baseball team that we watch now on June 17th is considerably different than just a month ago. And maybe I'm biased because I am, but it feels different as well.
Yeah, I mean, probably the two of the best wins of the season are back-to-back. I mean, there's a couple nice wins before that, but the two of at least the top 4, maybe 5 back-to-back games, 2 back-and-forth games where you had to come back, I think, multiple times. And, I mean, just an exciting win. You see this team fully healthy. This offense is playing really well right now. I don't know where they stack up, but this isn't a terrible offense. I know that. I don't know if they're above average. I don't know if they're below average. They're really kind of floating in the middle, but they're playing good baseball. They're giving themselves a chance. They're overcoming a little bit of adversity. And I'll say this about Terry Francona. He kind of got crushed earlier in the year for having the David Bell type response to, why is your team not coming back in games? And he was like, well, it'll happen when it happens. And, he kept steady on that, and well, it finally has started to happen. So, maybe there is something to that approach of, not going overboard in situations like he did.
Well, I don't think that really going overboard from a manager's perspective when you're talking about late come from behind wins, those types of things from a manager's perspective is good to go overboard. What I will say is I think that we can agree that there are players on this team and there are players in this lineup that are allowing them to get big hits that they've not gotten before. And you can even go back and say Jake Fraley today, which I don't want to go too down into the weeds here before we get into the show, but Jake Fraley today had a seesaw game. There's no doubt that some people are going to only remember, the botched play out in right field that caused the home run, but he also had a massive hit. He did. And Will Benson, a massive hit. These are things that just hasn't happened all year long. And like, with all due respect, there was a time when we sat on this show and Connor Joe was coming up in that situation, or Garrett Hampson was coming up in that situation, or Blake Dunn was coming up in that situation, or Jacob Hurtubise was coming up in that situation. So it just feels like we're starting to trend towards playing guys that make an impact. That's kind of why I'm excited. And I'm not trying to turn this into a show that is, hey, look at this or look at that. It's a positive show. I'm not trying to downgrade anybody. But let's face it, there for a while, Nick, it felt like 2/3 of this lineup just weren't very good offensive players.
Well, let's talk about this because I don't think it's going to come up in the rundown. I don't think that was a bad play by Jake Fraley. I think it was just really crappy luck. Like, I have zero like ill will, or I don't know the right term for that is. I just thought that was bad luck. I don't know. You think he should have? You look at Jake Fraley, man, he should have made that play. I just think it was bad luck.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that if you took a better route to the ball, you'd just kind of be underneath it at the fence and you'd catch it. But I think he just kind of lost track of it for a second, and then it caused him to make it maybe a more difficult angle. And at the very end, it wasn't an easy catch by any stretch of the imagination. But again, I don't want to act like it was a routine pop-up, Nick. I get that. But I would just openly say that it feels like those are the types of plays that are made against us. Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to compare Byron Buxton, but like Will Benson did get a home run or a damn near home run taken away from him. Yet they make that play, we don't make the play. That's kind of my point with that.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I just thought that was bad luck. I wasn't like.
Do we have a catch probability on that? When does that come out?
Well, I think the catch probability is going to be inaccurate because
no. I think that's accurate.
No, it's not going to be accurate. I mean, if you really want me to go into the whole explanation of it, it's going to take it's going to pretend that the ballpark is bigger because it's going to take the fences. It takes the fence out of the equation. So it's not those type plays. The catch probability it's not a good stat to use.
So it's not a good stat to use tonight because you watched the play in person and you've seen that he probably shouldn't have.
No, it's not a good stat to ever use on plays at the wall.
All right.
Because that's not the purpose of it.
All right. I'm just keeping track of when we can use it and when we can't. All right. We have a box score recap presented by you as always.
Can you do you have any supers? Get to those.
Yeah,
first.
I got some supers. Let me do some supers before you get to the box score recap. Nick's not happy with me because I'm poking fun at his catch probability. Michael Rolfe says, my one and only tonight. Thank you for all you do for Reds fan base. Trace and Nick, this team is fun. The front office is infuriating, but let's keep it fun. ATOBTTR, and this one belongs to the Reds. A 50 bomb, by the way. Rolfe just comes in here and just throws bombs all over the place. RD711 says, and this double comeback win belongs to who? It belongs to the Reds. Jacob Doyle. Nick, love the trade podcast. Would be cool if you could check in a few more of those before the deadline. Ned Flanders said, did Rhys Hines refuse to play first base or DH? My man has a 902 OPS after tonight. Is he being traded to the Giants? ? Well, Ned, we're gonna talk about the fact that the Reds just won a big baseball game by a run. In regards to Rhys Hines, I've done that song and dance. People are going to get mad at me because that's all I do is complain about who's on the roster and who's not. Donnie Miller.
Hey, hold on. That's a good super chat. I think Rhys Hines should be playing first base at AAA. I don't know why he's not, to be honest, because the Reds do have a hole at first base right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. You know what it feels like to me, Nick? It feels like the Reds are in a weird position where they're still treating Rhys Hines like he's a prospect, an up-and-coming prospect that they really like. But then when they showcase themselves to put him in a position of success at the major league level or give him chances at the major league level, they seem to treat him like he's Austin Wynns at times, where it's like he's kind of like an over-the-hill player that has had some success, but we're going to use him sparingly, and then we're going to send him back because, we're not too overly worried about messing him up or not. It's like, I don't get it. It doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense when they send him down and they don't put him at another position that he probably could get to the big leagues a lot quicker if he's capable of playing it. But then when they bring him up, it's like, okay, he'll play a day or two here and there, and then all of a sudden we'll send him back down in a week. I don't know. I'd like to be in somebody can incite me on exactly what their plan is with Rhys Hines. Donnie Miller says, my gal finally watched all 9 innings, Donnie. Congratulations. That's big time.
Let's go.
ATO, BTTR, Trace, are we back? CES at third is hard to watch. Need Austin back in the 4-hole. I'll tell you what, Donnie. I don't want to overreact with CES. It was a play that he's probably going to make 99 out of 100 times. It's a throw. He double padded, and he just kind of let his arm kind of get behind him, release the ball sails high, you make a bad throw. The truth of the matter is if and again, I'm not saying Jake Fraley could have caught the ball or should have caught the ball. That's not my point here. But if Jake Fraley catches that ball, we don't talk about really CES at third base. If Andrew Abbott strikes out the next guy, we don't really talk about CES at third base at great length. Now, to be clear, it was a big play in the game. I get why we want to talk about it. I don't think it's like one of those things where I see a major issue yet with him at third base because it was one play. It was a big play, but it was one play.
I agree that I don't want to overreact to that at third base, but I will say this. Are we sure that we should just play CES at first base and play Santiago Espinal at third base? Because Santiago Espinal has a 248 average and a 598 OPS. Spencer Steer has a 220 average and a 606 OPS.
They are dead fast. They seem to be hell-bent on Spencer Steer playing. Okay, I'm not. And my thing is, on this show, from here on out, if I continue to go down the path that is, hey, let me keep bringing up Spencer Steer and the lack of production at a position that is pivotal to get some power from, it is imperative that your baseball team has someone at first base that can hit. People are just going to think that I'm like a Spencer Steer hater, and I really don't want to feel like that's who I am. I'm just pointing out the obvious, that is, we need some more production from that position. CES certainly could go to that position, and you could put Espinal at third base, and you're probably defensively a little bit better. Now, I will say, Spencer Steer has played pretty good first base defensively, and he made a play tonight that was maybe a little underrated. I think McLean went into the hole, made an off-balance throw to first base. Steer stretched down the line, made a good play on it. Again, if he doesn't catch that ball, who knows what happens? And we talk about, we need a first baseman, but he did make a good play at first base. So I want to give Spencer Steer some credit for that. I don't know what the answer is. CES, the clear indication of CES is going to be if he can mash. Because if he can mash and hit balls out of the yard and continue to have a high OPS, I don't think that his defense is going to be as questioned. It gets questioned, Nick, when he goes 0 for 4 or 0 for 5 in a game and then also makes an error at third base. That's the truth. If he comes up and gets a massive 2-out hit like Will Benson did in this game, I must mind everybody. Like, you want to have some fun with this, Nick? Does everybody forget? Will Benson dropped a fly ball in left field. But nobody's talking about that. I mean, we don't want to talk about that because it didn't lead to any runs and he got a big 2-out hit. Like, that's how this whole thing goes. So if we want to pick fights with guys that can't catch the ball, then Jake Fraley's on the list, Will Benson's on the list, and CES is on the list tonight, but everyone only wants to talk about CES and I guess Fraley a little bit because of the result. And again, to be clear, I'm not saying there's not a problem at all, but they're hell-bent on playing Spencer Steer. They have been all year. I don't know why, but I've kind of just given up on the fact that that's their guy.
Yeah, but my point is just that you can't, like if CES is playing third base and he makes that error, and it's because you're playing him at third base, so you can have a good bat at first base, I don't really care. Like, whatever it is, what it is part of the trade-off. But the two things they're intertwined together. So it's not like one or the other. That's why like the error is a little less. The error hurts a little bit more because he's playing at third base and you're not getting offensive production at the easiest position in the sport to get offensive production. That's my issue.
That's been my issue all year long. We're on the same page. I've beaten that horse for so long. It's been dead since the middle of May for me. I mean, I'm over it. I don't know why we continue to do it, but it is what it is. So, all right. Michael Rolfe again. He lied. Rolfe can't help himself. The Reds are winning, baby, and Rolfe is in the mix. He said one more curtain call. Absolutely no one can convince me Garrett Hamster Dance is better than the roster that Rhys Hines. Yeah, listen, Garrett Hampson's not better on the roster than Rhys Hines. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that now when you don't bring him up to the big league club, they're basically saying we like him as a prospect, so we don't want him to have one or two at bats every other week. That seems like what Rhys Hines, that's what happens to him when he comes up here. So that's unfair to him. That's the point. And Fraley won a game with a Willie Mays style catch. Didn't lose one tonight. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Fraley made an unbelievable play out there in right field. I'm not saying that he's a terrible defender or anything like that. I'm just openly saying it was a gut punch at a time that felt like you could have made the play. That's all. Flat Rock 79 says, great hat, Trace. Lookouts are winning big tonight. There you go. A little MILB early here on Chatterbox Reds. And
Dr. For a playoff spot this week.
Yeah, they got Cam Collier as well. Dr. Dobach says, Emilio in his 20-inch fastball shoves. What?
I wasn't sure where that was going.
I wasn't either. I got the 20. I got the 20-inch, and it was a little hesitant. Emilio in his 20-inch fastball shoves ATOBTTR. I'm not too sure what that means, but I'm just going to keep it moving in a show like this. Maybe that's over my head. Am I not hip enough to know what that means? Anyways. Does this fastball got a lot of run on it, Nick? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, I think that's what we're talking about.
I think so, too. All right. Hopefully we bought enough time for the buy score recap presented by Nick Kirby. So, without further ado, here it goes.
All right, Reds taking on the Minnesota Twins, game 1 of 3 in a short standalone homestand at Great American Ballpark. Andrew Abbott coming off his complete game shutout against David Festa of the Twins. In the bottom of the second, Will Benson was robbed of a home run by Byron Buxton. And then in the next half inning, Buxton hit a home run of his own to put the Twins up 1-0. In the bottom of the fourth, Reds were still trailing 1-0. Gavin Lux and Tyler Stevenson walked. And then with 2 outs, Will Benson smoked a double at 110 off the bat the other way to put the Reds up 2-1. Spencer Steer struck out on 4 pitches, but a passed ball from the Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers gave the Reds extra life. And Jake Fraley took advantage with a 2 RBI single to put the Reds up 4-1. Andrew Abbott pitched around a lot of base runners, but got the Reds into the 6th inning with a 4-1 lead. He got the first 2 outs, but then a throwing error from Christian Encarnacion Strand playing third base in this one kept the inning alive, and the Twins made the Reds pay. Trevor Larnach smoked an RBI single at 103 off the bat, and then Harrison Bader hit a 2-run home run on a ball that bounced off Jake Fraley's glove and over the fence in right field. Did not look like it was going out without the assist from Jake Fraley. That made it 5-4 Twins. But the Rally Reds responded in the bottom of the 6th. Jake Fraley and Matt McLain singled with 2 outs. Then TJ Friedl doubled them home to put the Reds up 6-5. And the Reds bullpen was fantastic. Scott Barlow got 4 outs, retired all 4 batters he faced, 2 strikeouts. Tony Santillan, a perfect 8th with 2 strikeouts. And Emilio Pagan, he walked 2 but struck out 2 for his 17th save of the season. Reds win 6-5. Reds now 38-35 on the season. And your Cincinnati Reds have won 8 out of their last 10 games.
All right, we got a deep drive of the day, but it was an out. How else would we go out with a deep drive of the day that turns into an out? I thought perhaps he was going to throw in, maybe like one of those big 2-out hits, the absolute lace job that was Will Benson. It was like 110 off the bat, but he did want to give his Will Benson guy some credit for getting out with the robbed home run by Byron Buxton. It was 106 off the bat, 400 feet. It was actually a home run in 8 MLB stadiums. I did look that up. Great American Ballpark not being one of them. I was curious to see if it would have been one of them. That way I could get some verification that it would have been a home run. It was very, very close, as we all know. And at the time, the score would remain Minnesota 1, Cincinnati 0. And the Twins win probability at the time was 60%. And as we all know, it would end up being 0%. DSC, they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Shout out to DSC. Here's the quick thing. The Rally Reds, certainly the topic of conversation. I was thinking to myself, what am I most proud about when I was watching this unfold? Was it the big 2-out hit? Was it the idea of kind of, even in a way, having a lot of good big league at-bats? It felt like tonight there was just a lot of good at-bats. You were capable of laying off pitches. Even the at-bat with Elly, I was going to be frustrated with Elly because I felt like the guy was struggling with command late in the game, and he had not thrown. In fact, in Elly's at-bat, he did not throw one single strike. It was 6 pitches, not one single strike thrown. But Elly did a good job laying off ball 4. McLain, he walked tonight, and I know there was plenty others that walked as well. But the thing that maybe I was most proud about, Nick, was that they paid for the other team's mistakes. Like that's what good teams do. Spencer Steer strikes out, right? And that should have been the end of the inning. But for some reason, they got mixed up. It looked like the pitcher and catcher were mixed up. Ball bounces directly off the face mask of the catcher, goes to the backstop. He gets to first base, and then Jake Fraley gets a big 2-out hit. And I just think that is the indication of a team that's starting to feel like they belong and or believe. And I don't know, what more there is to say. Maybe it's just it doesn't mean a whole lot. It's just a thing that makes us fans feel better. But it seems like it's a bigger deal than perhaps you might see in a box score. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, Gavin Lux walked 3 times in this game. Now has a .370 on-base percentage. Man, if you can just get a little bit more power out of him, it's a really, really good player. But, he's kind of replaced Jonathan India, and I'm not trying to trash Jonathan India. He's been a better version of Jonathan India. I mean, I think India has 3 home runs, Lux has 2, and Lux has an on-base percentage that's 40 points higher. Now, he can't play against left-handed pitchers, so there's a little bit different, but I'd take the upside against right-handed pitching. So he's done a really good job. Elly walking twice, like you mentioned. Will Benson, I tell you what, he's swinging the bat well. He hasn't got the results. I was looking it up the other day. Since his 5 home run stretch, a stat that I like to use, expected weighted on base average, which basically is the culmination of all the StatCast, said that Will Benson had been the Reds' best hitter during his slump. It should have been. And I don't think it takes a StatCast digging through data to watch. He's hit the ball hard a lot and just hasn't got the results. So nice to see him after getting robbed. That has to feel pretty brutal for him to come back in his next at bat and have the biggest hit of the game at the time. And then TJ Friedl probably ended up having the biggest hit, just a huge double in that spot. And it didn't feel as big, but then when the Reds didn't put up any more runs, it felt a lot bigger. So it ended up being a huge hit. But yeah, I mean, this offense is playing Really, eight walks in this game.
Yeah,
walks.
Reds only got 5
awesome.
hits. Reds only got 5 hits. It's a game if you watch and I said, hey, the Reds only got 5 hits, you'd be like that seems way too low. It's just because they found ways to get on base. I mean, they did a good job of putting pressure on the defense in my opinion, and they're starting to look again like a baseball team offensively that seemingly puts threats together, and it's not just here or there. The other thing to bring up too, Nick, like they were getting no hit. Like that was the other part of it. They were getting no hit, and it felt like earlier in the season, this team just laid down and they died. And I'm not suggesting that the culture changed overnight or anything like that, but the belief system certainly has. I do think that. I felt like for whatever reason, this team is so contagious. When things were going bad earlier in the year, boy, did they continue to go bad. But there were these crazy offensive outbreaks that happened in games, Nick, where you're like, what is this? This doesn't look like the same baseball team. They'd pound out 16 hits, and they'd score 12, 13, 14 runs. Obviously, we all remember what happened in Baltimore when they scored 24 or whatever it was. But this is starting to feel like they're consecutively putting games together now where they're putting pressure on the defense in consecutive innings and more innings than not. And that is what good baseball teams do. And they finally found a rhythm. And you said earlier in the show, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but you had said, hey, maybe a fully healthy team's all they need. They're really not even fully healthy. I mean, obviously Austin Hayes needs to come back, and people can sit here and joke and make fun of Candelario. And again, I've been the guy that went viral for making fun of Candelario. But, like, he's going to probably – I hesitantly say these things. He's probably going to need to be a part of this team and be a successful part of this team for them to get to a spot in the postseason, in my opinion. If it's not him, then someone's going to have to come up here and either sit in the DH spot or the first base spot and mash baseballs. We need that. And I guess what I'm saying is we're surviving and advancing right now until maybe we do get fully healthy. And you're right. I don't know what this offensive looks like when they're fully healthy. And the cool thing, Nick, is we haven't even brought this up there in the whole show yet. They don't need to be perfect. They certainly don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be a top 10 offensive team in baseball. Don't need to be that at all, because this bullpen and the starting pitching has continued to give this team a chance to win. The bullpen tonight, of all things, which maybe it's on the back half of the rundown, might also deserve the player of the game or the most deserving award of why they won this game. I mean, they have found ways, and really Andrew Abbott threw the ball well, which he's next on the rundown, which we can get into that now. They have done what they needed to do to let you start to believe, which is this pitching staff.
Yeah, my last point on the offense is a thing you really love to see is the 8 walks that they drew forced the Twins to throw 6 different pitchers. So in game 1 of a 3-game series, I mean, that's a pretty big deal to have them have solid guys, the Reds got to see some of these guys that they don't see. They're an American League team. They don't see them a lot. And they had to, use a lot of bullets. So it definitely sets you up well here for the series.
No doubt. There was and I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I probably should write these things down. But who got the big 2-out, 2 guys on walk to load the bases that caused them to run?
Festa?
No, it wasn't just Festa. It was the other reliever as well.
Stewart.
I think it was Stewart. I'll dig it up later. But that was a massive at bat because I think it just extended the inning. You know what else happened in this game that I want to give both starting pitchers credit for is the home plate umpire obviously took one and they wanted to be cautious and they went and sat him. Those pitchers had to sit around for a while. I think it was every bit of 20, 25 minutes. Andrew Abbott even had to sit longer than that. So just small things that happen in a game that you kind of overlook because you forget about. But they fought through some adversity tonight, and I'm just proud to be a Reds fan, which is nice to say out loud.
Yeah. I want to get into Andrew Abbott.
Yeah. I mean, he's more than deserving. You want me to start, or you got it?
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, I mean, listen, I think he continued to do what he's done all year long, to be honest with you. And in fact, I thought he was incredibly, his command was very, very good at the beginning of the game. I thought his command at the bottom of the zone was very, very good. And I don't know what happened, Nick, but he's got clearly what you're most excited about as well is like he's developed some swing and miss. Like it really like it feels like the guys are having trouble seeing the ball against him, and he's continued to look the part. I think you could look maybe at the game log and see that he had to exit the game, and perhaps clearly the ERA portion of this isn't going to matter because they weren't earned runs. But I think from an innings pitch standpoint, he got shorted an inning because of what happened. I think if CES makes that play at third base, he probably goes out the next inning, and I'm not saying he shuts them down or anything like that, but it certainly felt that way. He was cruising along, and the Reds also, to be clear, would have had a 4-run lead, I think, at the time. I think it would have been 4, and if they would have gotten 2 in the next inning, so they would have had a 5 or 6-run lead. I think it would have been a 5-run lead. Point is, though, is I feel like his leash would have been longer. This could have been a completely different outing for him if it wasn't for just one defensive play. But it happened. And the last thing I'll say about Abbott before I give it over is that I thought the way that he handled the situation that happened with him was very well. Like, he didn't pout about it. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't throwing his glove in the dugout. You didn't see him hang his head on the mound when the ball bounced off Fraley's glove. It bounced in there. Like, they showed the replay of him, and he kind of just smiled or laughed, like kind of like, I know in aside he probably was like, this can't, that can't just have happened. But he didn't. I think he just didn't show his teammates up, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, Abbott is, unless he has a couple bad starts, really bad starts. I mean, he feels like almost a lock for the All-Star game. It'd be a travesty if he's not. Yeah, he's pitched very well. He did give up a lot of hard hit contact, gave up a lot of hits, but again, didn't walk anyone. His walk rate is maybe the most underrated thing that he's improved this year, because he was never a super bad walk guy. Didn't walk a ton of guys, but that, increasing, he's went from 3.4 walks per 9 to now 2.6. That's a big improvement there. So I think that's a big thing. I would have pulled him before Harrison Bader, just like I would have pulled him before Carlos Santana. I didn't like that move. I felt like you were living on thin ice, and it was unlucky that you got burnt, but at the same time, the ball was hit 100 miles per hour. So I don't know. I mean, Harrison Bader, third time through, like it goes to, I know why he was left in, because he deserved to get through that inning. I don't like that. I don't like that mindset. I like playing to win the game in that spot, but I'm glad the Reds were able to come back and overcome that.
Right. I get what you're saying. I mean, it felt like there was a spot where you could have brought somebody in that clearly would have had a better matchup against Bader, who hits left-handed pitching relatively well. Third time through, you just had kind of an unfortunate situation happen. I think that what you just said is what Tito does, though. I mean, that's what you're going to get. If he just basically, he's been watching Andrew Abbott throw the ball really, really well all game long. Andrew Abbott gets a guy to roll over a ground ball to third base, not hard hit at all. Third baseman makes an error, and then all of a sudden now you're like, I'm going to go take this guy out of the game. I mean, it just, in a way, it feels like Tito's just not going to do those things unless it seems like the reason that Andrew Abbott is in trouble is because he's incapable of pitching well. But he wasn't in trouble because of that. He was largely in trouble because they couldn't make a play behind him. And then, as you said, you kind of got to – and it was a well-hit ball to right field. Do I think that Fraley should have made the play? I'd say it's 50-50. It definitely shouldn't have bounced off his glove and went over the fence. That was just bad luck. So it's just good to know that Abbott continues to look the part, though, if nothing else. And hopefully you can lean on an ace until your ace comes back. Hopefully that's soon. I don't want to jinx it, but it feels like who knows when that's going to be based off the history of the Reds. I don't know. Maybe not until next season, which I'm saying that hopefully to jinx it back to where Hunter Green will be back soon. Who knows? But anything else to get to before we jump into the back half of the rundown?
No.
All right. As always, thanks to everybody for watching the show. Please, if you haven't already, like the stream. And as always, thanks to those who support our show and 988 is a hotline, anonymous hotline that our show and our chats certainly always reference and know about, and it's okay to not be okay. Please visit mantherapy.org as well if you're ever in a time of need. And again, 24/7, day or night, 988. All right. I guess at this point, Nick, when you get into this part of the season, you're going to have to, in a way, manage a bullpen to make sure that at the end of the season, that bullpen still has a chance to be successful. If we have had any kind of clear discourse with the previous seasons of the way in which the team was handled, the bullpen was probably the biggest circle that existed, at least in my opinion, on the way it was handled, and it shouldn't have been handled that way. You now find yourself in a position where you clearly have three guys now, in my opinion, Nick. Three guys now that if you handed the ball over to late in the game, you feel pretty good about. And I'm not trying to exclude other guys, but clearly for me, Barlow, Santiago, and Pagan. Your thoughts on Barlow? Because he's maybe the most undervalued Red with Cincinnati fandom, perhaps.
Yeah, also an underrated probably signing at this point. We've kind of talked about the signings this offseason. Getting Gavin Lux. He was 370 on base percentage. Very easy. We saw Jose Trevino's impact. Austin Hayes has been maybe the Reds' best hitter when he's been on the field, but Scott Barlow was the cheapest out of all of them. I mean, $2.5 million, and he's been fantastic, and just the amount of usage that he's had too has been really remarkable. And he's only given up a run in like 2 of his last 15 outings. I'm not counting it up, but I'm looking at it here. He's been pretty consistent too. After he had a really rough stretch at the early part of May, and then since then has been really, really good. So he's been great. Tony Santiago is incredible. I doubt Santiago becomes an all-star, but he feels like a guy that is deserving of being an all-star. If there was you could throw in a setup guy. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely worried about their usage. The one thing I would say is it's not really fair to these poor guys like Santiago and Barlow, who, are still trying to earn a little bit of big league money here. But maybe Tito was told, look, if you run these guys into the ground, we'll go get your relievers at the trade deadline if we're in the race. And if that's the case, then, I mean, I can kind of understand why you can't lose these games. We've talked a lot about Reds having to win the marginal games. Well, they have to win these games. And I think that bullpen is I talked a lot with Mike last night, and the more I think about it, I think bullpen might be the biggest need on this team, even though it may not feel like it right now, because I do think there is going to be a cumulative effect to this as the season goes on.
Yeah, time will tell. But again, it kind of does feel like we found ourselves in a position where we can only rely on 2 or 3 guys in the bullpen when times get tight. And maybe that's the way it is across all of Major League Baseball. I don't know bullpens well enough to know, but I do think that you're right. The Reds will find a way to get 1, maybe 2 pieces in the bullpen if the Reds are buyers at the deadline. I also think the Reds will go out and try to find maybe a rental player that will provide some power at perhaps a more of a low cost. I don't want to call it a diet right version of a rental player, but we're going to probably get a rental player that has some pop, but obviously some downside for a lower level prospect, if I had to guess, at the deadline, if that's such a thing. But nonetheless, they've got to win these games, because if not, they're just sellers. And we've now found ourselves in a position where if you would have told me that we're 3 games over 500, I wouldn't have believed you, because I really thought this team was dead, man. It felt like we were. I mean, it's not that long ago, Nick, where our corner outfielders, okay, our corner outfielders were Hampson and Joe. It's not.
Wasn't that last week?
2 weeks? A week and a half? And I mean, I know it's a joke. It sounds like a joke. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just being dead honest. Like, I was looking at this lineup and I was thinking to myself, like, this isn't serious. This is not a serious team. And lo and behold, CES comes back. He gets hot. He hits a couple home runs. He helps them win a couple games in a little bit of a short spurt. Will Benson. And this is kind of like, in a way, this is what I've been begging about all season long. It's like, if nothing else, let's just die on the sword, man. Let's go out guns a-blazing. We're not going to sit back and just kind of play this conservative prevent defense all year and just hope we can manage our way to wins. I'd rather take a guy that has some upside that might be terrible. To be fair, Will Benson might have been terrible, but damn, he also has a chance to be one of the best outfielders in baseball. And I'm just telling you, clearly it has shown itself. And I'm hopeful that this Reds team continues to go down that path. And we don't get retreads. Because I'd much rather have Rhys Hines play every day in the outfield personally than to go get a retread that's a below average hitter who also happens to have no pop. And again, I'm glad Hurtaby's got picked up on waivers and hopefully he has a great career with the Mariners. But the truth is like that type of prospect right now is not really the mold or the thing that's going to get this baseball team over the hump. It's going to require guys that have some pop, and boy, do we have that. And that's what's exciting. CES being back, Will Benson playing well, Jake Fraley also, to be very clear. Jake Fraley was a guy that showed no signs of life, and he has played well, Nick. So that's where this is all coming from. That's why it feels a little bit different, and relatively excited about it.
I think Fraley's played really good defense, which is funny to say tonight. But I do think his defense, especially since what was the ball that went through his legs in Milwaukee when it felt like everything was snowballing.
You were so out on him.
Ever since then, man, he's played really good defense. Again, and you can say whatever you want about the play tonight, but other than that, I mean, really good defense. If it feels like they're pitching a lot, well, Tony Santiago leads Major League Baseball, tied for the lead in appearances with 35. Scott Barlow has 34 right behind him. So they're right up at the top. So they have pitched a lot. But the one thing the Reds have done, I know people have hated the Reds' deadlines, but they have gotten relievers. They got Archie Bradley in 2020. They got 3 relievers in 2021, Cessa Givens and Justin Wilson. And then in 2023, they got Sam Moll, who actually ended up being a great pickup for that team.
Yep.
One of the better pickups that impacted in season that maybe went unnoticed. Now, maybe Joe Boyle figures it out.
I was going to say, how is Doyle doing?
He pitched 5 brilliant innings the other night, and I'm like, I see people like, come on, man. If this guy turns it around, like he still walked 7 batters, I think, per 9 innings last year in AAA. So I don't know. Yeah. That's one guy I will not lose sleep over if he was a wild card. Yeah, like Mike Sirota, I still fine with the trade right now. If he turns out to be a superstar, I'll probably lose some sleep over that. Joe Boyle, I don't know. I watched a lot of his starts at AA, and I was just like, I would he ever have done that with the Reds either? Like, he's a guy that if there was ever like a change of scenery guy, it was him. But that's a whole nother thing.
All right, fair enough. You got in some injury updates?
There's a whole bunch of them that came through the pipe today. So in case you missed them, Graham Ashcraft placed on the IL with a right groin injury. This team has to lead the league in groin injuries, I think, Trace. Hunter Green, speaking of groin injuries,
gastritis.
We'll go to Goodyear to do a rehab and treatment after his second opinion. No timetable yet. And then Austin Hayes, feeling better today, still not ready to be activated, but sounds like he could be activated at any day. And that's very important because the Reds are facing a ton of left-handed pitchers coming up, starting in St. Louis. They're facing 3 straight lefties against the Yankees. That whole series, the last pitcher, Matthew Liberatore, was pitching with the Cardinals. They have a ton of lefties coming up. So Austin Hayes getting healthy over the next 5 days is, I think, very crucial to this team.
Yeah, anybody that has some some power is going to be welcomed. And Austin Hayes also, what's great about this team is that even though the guys that have kind of gone away from an injury perspective, they also helped during a certain portion of the season in what I would call a considerable amount. I get Hunter Green's not here, but damn, how good was Hunter Green, though, for a month and a half while he was here? And I get that I'm not trying to defend him by saying that, it's okay that he's always injured. I don't really also think that you just choose to be injured. So it's just really hard for me to be like, hold that against certain players. Like, it feels like, put it this way, if I thought it was from a lack of caring about your body and a lack of training and just sloppiness and laziness, and you came in overweight at spring training and then all of a sudden you have an injury, sure. Okay, maybe we could get upset about that. Like Moustakas, I think it's a pretty clear indication of a guy that probably didn't put his best foot forward to being in playing shape while he was here. But, I mean, you're going to look at Hunter Green and say that? Of course, I would. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to think that. Austin Hayes has kind of had injury issues in his career. This is part of the MO of him when he came over. So it's kind of hard to be like, wow, I never seen this coming. So it's part of it, Nick. Injuries are a part of it. And I feel like when it's your team, you seem like you think that you have it the worst and you notice all of it. And you're like, I bet every single team in Major League Baseball goes through the exact same thing. And in fact, I mean, look at the Dodgers, and not to try to point them out on this show, but like talk about a team that has spent a boatload of money on certain players that have just never performed or didn't produce for them because of injuries. That list is long. I think the Sasaki kid he's being kind of put on the sidelines for a minute, and they paid him, or I guess what? I'm not going to go down that path, but at the end of the day, Dodgers are in a position where they've had a ton of injuries. The Braves have had situations where they've had a ton of injuries. I feel like it's just part of the game. So, anything
our Dodgers the next 2 days. We need Dodgers win. The Reds are a game and a half out of a wild card spot. That is insane. I can't even believe that.
Right. The Reds keep winning baseball games, and you're going to look up at that wild card, and you're going to think to yourself, how in the hell did we find ourselves here? Genuinely. And I don't want to give up on the division. Like, it seems too early to do that, but I definitely would say that, you watch the Cubs play, it would take them, in my opinion, it would take them to have to fall off pretty significantly for that to all become a thing.
Real quick on the wild card. Like, I think my take on it is this. Like, the Cubs could still collapse. We've seen it before, but it's you can't expect that to happen. No. Like, if that happens, great. You're but expecting it to happen, I think, is pretty silly. Like, there's nothing that says they should. There's nothing that says the Padres, Giants, and Phillies should collapse either. But that's 3 teams. You only need one of them to collapse, and over baseball, there's always a team that underperforms. So there's a good chance that one of those 3 teams will underperform the rest of the year and not reach their potential. And so that's what, the closer you can stay to all 3 of them, the better chance you have. And like you just said, you keep winning games, it'll kind of take care of itself. That's kind of saying the same thing, but that's just kind of my long-winded way of saying there's 3 options there. It's not you need the Padres to collapse. It's not you need the Giants to collapse. It's not you need the Phillies to collapse. You need one of them to collapse. And it almost happens every single year where one of those teams that are kind of in that spot, they just don't perform well. And I don't know which of them it'll be. I love if it's 2 or 3 of them, but we'll find out. Keep winning, and you'll be in the mix, I think.
Well, I think the Padres and the Giants, like you had mentioned too, I mean, they play in a division where they're going to, there's going to be some beating up of each other. I get they get to play the Rockies, to be clear. I mean, that's great.
But they have to play each other, and they have to play the Dodgers, so the Rockies kind of gets canceled out somewhere on the end.
Exactly. And then I'd also say, like, if I look at that, I think the Phillies are pretty safe, if you want my opinion. So it comes down to those 2. And really, it would be nice, and again, not trying to say that we're looking for moral victories by any stretch of the imagination, but if we could find a way to have a better record than the Brewers at the end of the season, that would be great. I mean, that team seemingly finds a way to win more baseball games than we do with lesser talent, or what seems like lesser talent, of course. I've always argued that there's a reason they win. It's because they don't have lesser talent. But that would be a step in the right direction. And it'll be interesting to see what this Reds baseball team does from a front office standpoint if they find themselves in a position that you could argue they have a reasonable chance to make the postseason at the deadline. Because I think that'll kind of tip their hand, or tip the hand of what many of us wondered with Tito when he came back on board. And again, I continue to say Tito is way too old, doesn't have that many more years left managing for him to come back and manage a baseball team that feels like they're going to sit on their hands. And does that mean I want them to sell the farm? No. But I have a hard time believing they're going to sit on their hands when Tito Francona has accepted the job. It just doesn't seem, those two things don't add up.
And you still have 6 games against the Padres left on the calendar. 3 coming up at home in 2 weeks, and then you got 3 actually in September. So that could be a fun little series late in the year. We'll see how it shakes out. But you also have opportunities against the Padres to actually make a dent, where you unfortunately don't with the Giants. And man, God, I hope that 5-0 blown lead where you would have had the tiebreaker doesn't come back to bite the Reds.
Yeah, I'm well aware, but that's here nor there. All right, on a night like tonight, Monday.
We got any supers? I'm like so close to being perfected here.
Yeah, I can get us somewhere if you need me to get supers. Dr. Doback, the folk that sent in the super chat that said Emilio and his 20-inch fastball shoves. There was some clarification sent my way. So what they were referencing, to be very clear on a kids show like this one, they were talking about Emilio Pagan's, is it called what's the IVB stand for, Nick? Do you know?
Vertical break.
Yeah.
Inverted vertical break.
Inverted vertical break, I think is what it is, okay. But I didn't want to make a fool of myself. That is 20.1 tonight. Now, what that exactly means is a little bit over my head. My guess is the run on his fastball, or maybe not even the run, but the ability for it to stay straight. Is that what that means? I don't know. I guess I'll have to look that up. Chat will probably know. I don't know if Google will know, but I'll look it up for you. IVB in baseball. Let's see what we get. The IVB stands for induced vertical break. It's a metric that requires how much a pitch moves upward or downward due to its spin, independent of gravity. It essentially quantifies a pitcher's ability to fight gravity and create a rising effect on their pitches. So a rising fastball, as we all know, doesn't really rise because it's impossible to create that much backspin for a ball to genuinely rise. But the less drop that it has, the more it appears to rise, perhaps to hitters, because they're used to the pitch dropping. So what that means, I guess, in a long-winded way, is that our guy Emilio Pagan had a very good rising fastball tonight. There you go.
Love it.
Hopefully that bought enough time for your Reds.
You did.
MILB.
I just wanted to get the Chattanooga stats in there. You know, we were close.
I love that. All right, off to Louisville.
And they're our most important team right now. All right, Louisville, they lost 4-3 to Scranton Wilkes. Is it Bear or is it Bear? I don't know. They lost 4-3 to Scranton. The Bats, they're struggling. They've lost 15 of their last 20 games. Candelaria 1 for 4 with a double and a walk. Reese Hines stayed hot 2 for 4. Connor Phillips gave up a run over an inning in 2/3. Sam Mole threw a perfect inning, so that's good to see. He's been really struggling. Chase Burns will make his Louisville Slugger debut on Wednesday, 12:05 p.m., so a little day baseball action, and it is the MILB free game of the day, although every single one of their games are technically free if you watch on ballylive.com. They give them all away for free, but that's a little extra. You can watch it on the MLB app. Chattanooga, they are leading Rocket City 10-2, not to put a curse on. Actually, it just went final. They won 10-3, so it is over. They hang on. They now have a half game lead. Trace. We're in the final week of the first half. They are trying to fight off the Birmingham Barons. So Birmingham won tonight. They maintain their half game lead. Huge day tomorrow. They play 2 games. They have a doubleheader, and I believe Birmingham also has a doubleheader tomorrow. So could be a lot of action one way or the other. But nonetheless, they win 10-3. Cam Collier, 2 for 5 in his Double-A debut. Sal Stewart, 2 for 4. Edwin Arroyo, 1 for 5. How about Ruben Ibarra? He's been on fire of late, hit 2 home runs, 3 for 5. He has 9 home runs on the year. And they have a pitcher that I need to do a little bit more research on, but he's a guy that's starting to turn some heads. Jose Franco now has a 2.83 ERA on the year. Or actually, it went down to 2.68. Tonight, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Actually took a perfect game, I believe, into the 6th inning. All right, down to High A Dayton. They've won 3 out of 4. That's good to see. They won 6-4 over Fort Wayne. Adam Serwanowski had a really good start, 5 innings, 1 run. So far in June, 1.80 ERA in 3 starts for him. Leo Balcazar, 2 for 3 with a home run, his 6th of the season. Carlos Jorge, 1 for 4. John Michael Fail and Connor Burns, both homered. Down to Daytona, the Tortugas lose 5-3 to Jupiter. Tortugas just 2-7 in their last 9, now 10 games under 500. Alfredo Duno, 0 for 2 with a walk. Sammy Staforo, 1 for 5. Carlos Sanchez had a nice day, 2 for 4, stole 2 bases. And out in the Dominican Summer League, the DSL Reds fell 7-6 to the DSL Royals Ventura, and the DSL Rojos fell 6-2 to the Athletics. But 2 players want to highlight down there. Adolfo Sanchez hit his 2nd home run of the year, 2 for 4. He's hitting 361 OPS over 1,100 through his first 11 games. That's great to see. Last year, he really struggled. This is the Reds' top prospect out in the DSL. And the other one, Nabiel Mariano, 2 for 4 with a double. He's hitting 389 with an OPS over 1,000. He really struggled. He only hit a .188 in his first season, but he was the Reds' 2nd best signing in 2024. Both guys 18 years old, so good to see them playing well out in the DSL.
The DSL. It's where all dreams begin.
It's where Elly De La Cruz's dream began.
No doubt. All right, folks. Again, as a reminder, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Very much appreciate that. I think we are currently at 174 likes with 400 plus and up to 500 plus during this show at times. So if you haven't already, please like the stream. It's just very much appreciated by us. So moving forward, we do have some more baseball to be played. A little who, what, when, where, and why. Another opportunity. Another lefty, if I do remember, or my brain remembers right.
Nope, it's a righty. Sorry. We have all righties this series.
I'm not worried about them, Nick. I'm worried about us. Okay, my focus is on the Cincinnati Reds. I don't worry about anybody else but us. Clean up our kitchen.
I respect it. All right, the lefty, Nick Lodolo for the Reds against Bailey Ober for the Twins. Lodolo coming off a tough start in Cleveland, 6 earned runs and 3 1/3. Lodolo's never faced the Twins. Only 2 batters that have faced him are Harrison Bader, who's 1 for 2, and Jonah Bride, who is 1 for 3. Bailey Ober in his 5th big league season, a nice career, been derailed at times by injuries, but a 3.85 ERA, now over 100 starts. He was having a really great season. He had a 3.48 ERA through May, but last 2 starts, 12 earned runs and 6 homers in 11 2/3 innings pitched. Relies on 6 pitches, a 4-seamer, changeup, slider, sweeper, curveball, sinker. Fastball only averages 90 miles per hour, but has a really good changeup. Reds have hit him well in his career, 6.19 ERA in 3 starts. Reds put up 6 earned runs on against him last year, but the active Reds have not done well against him. So it must be guys that have departed. They're just 7 for 43. Jake Fraley 0 for 8. TJ Friedl 3 for 6 with a homer. CES 1 for 2 with a homer. Stevenson 0 for 5. Elly and Benson 0 for 3. Trace, anything you're looking for out of Nick Lodolo tomorrow?
Yeah, I need him to throw strikes. Outside of that, hopefully he can get some guys out and stay healthy. No more blisters. I'm not looking for any blisters to arise. And I think if you throw strikes, you don't walk guys, Nick, I think that it leads to a lot of success. These guys, more times than not, have had plenty of success in their career. That's my favorite thing about the starting pitching that we do have is outside of one guy that we're not going to get into. I would argue that they have been really good as of late if they don't put kind of another barrier in the way, which is letting guys on base by base on balls. So we'll find out if we're capable. I also love the idea that we're not facing a left-handed pitcher because I think that's coming down the road here soon. And hopefully we can find a way to win a baseball game before those lefties come hauling.
Yeah.
We got a plethora of them, don't we?
That Yankee series that's looming looks daunting. But you know what? Baseball is a stupid game,
Yes,
and I would love a stupid 3 days against the New York Yankees.
Yeah. All right, folks. It's that time of the show where we have to do some rituals. I plan on dunking a basketball, but before I go, I just want to say thank you for those that support this show day in and day out, and thank you to the Cincinnati Reds for giving us a reason to be excited. You know, I really do want to say that there is nothing better in this city than when the Reds are winning, man. It just it changes the vibe. It changes the culture. It gives people some semblance of hope in our community that there is something to look forward to on a nightly basis. And this baseball team has done that for me. I thought we were down and out, dead, going to be talking about selling at the deadline here in about a week or two, discussing who might be a decent player for us next season, what young guys that aren't as young anymore have been disappointing, and who we can rely on. And you know what we get to do? We get to watch baseball tomorrow and be excited about what the score is. And by God, that's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for. So, until next time, go Reds. We love you. Like the stream if you haven't already. Now, let's see if we can't go and be an athlete.